Hello everybody, I'm Martin. Welcome to another episode of Minecraft Enigmatica 2 Expert. Last episode, I said that it was past time to get started on thermal expansion because I'm pretty much all out of excuses and I can already make the top tier metals for it, and I haven't made any of the machines. So I probably should get on that. There is, however, a catch. And that catch is on the gates page. Because to open thermal expansion, well, we still need to open the RF tools one, which we also have not done. And to do that, we need to make a machine frame. But at least if we look at this, it's all stuff we can easily make for the most part and have made in the past. 2 machine casings made, and now to toss one of them in the scanner. But now we've opened up this gate. Oh, we can pick a reward, so let's take the energy cell since we'll be able to upgrade that shortly. And now to open up the thermal expansion gate, which is a machine frame, which is a bit harder to make and requires basically cases from each of the other mods prior to this done in Thermia Fabricator. So let me go get each one of these out of the replicator and make a device frame, which is actually pretty easy to make. And 2 machine casings made now, so now that opens up thermal expansion. And we can go claim the rewards, which is, oh gee, a free compression dynamo, that would have been useful earlier. And we apparently also opened up environmental tech, so we might as well go claim this as well. Oh, I don't know what to take here though. I guess I'll take the litherite solar cell because I honestly have no clue. And now that we've opened up these 3 chapters, we want to open these up. Eventually we're going to want to read through the descriptions and claim their prizes so that we can open up their chapters properly and track rewards from them. And as you can see, in the case of RF tools, we've already gotten a couple of rewards. We'll come back and get these later though. And welcome to thermal expansion, where we've already completed a bunch of stuff because of course we have. So one of my first goals here is going to be to make the Pulverizer, because I want to add this to my mob farm to start grinding up all of the diamond armors we've been getting from there just to get rid of them without wasting them and getting some more diamonds back as a return. And to do that, we need to make the redstone furnace, which turns out is, at this point, extremely simple for us to make. Since we know how to make the reception coils, we just chuck this into the atomic reconstructor and we're done. And 1 redstone furnace done. That was simple enough. So the next step up we might as well do while we're here is make the upgrade for it, which turns it into a coke oven to make the pyrolytic conversion augment, which is actually pretty simple as well. It's just Invar, some plates, another brick, and then a redstone servo, which is simple. All right, and another step done. Now, what this thing lets us do is you put this upgrade inside the furnace and it lets you turn things either into charcoal or into coke and generates creosote, just like a normal coke oven does, although we can speed it up to be significantly faster with upgrades. Now, the question is this actually something I ever want to do? I don't know. I don't have that much use for coke right now, so we will see. But for now, this is just going to get shelved. Now that we have these, we can actually make the Pulverizer. And the Pulverizer is a bit more complex. So we need to make flint plates, which that's pretty easy to do. We just do that in the standard Tinker's Construct work table. Some pistons, which are fine, but we need to make another crusher. So that's going to be annoying, but the rest of this is doable. So as a reminder, this isn't hard to make. It just requires like an iron casing, which we can go replicate now at least. And now we have the Pulverizer done too. While I was making this, I also made a couple upgrades, and we should probably discuss how this works with thermal expansion. There's a base here for each machine in thermal expansion, okay? And they are all upgradable. As they upgrade, they gain expansion slots and just general efficiency and more power usage as they go. You apply upgrade kits to them to do that. And they require increasingly more expensive materials. So this is Invar and bronze. The next tier is electrum and silver and hardened glass or fused quartz. And then signalum with some cryothium and endurnium with lumium and pyrotheum. These are things we can all thankfully make now, although this is still prohibitively expensive since this requires platinum to make the lead platinum alloy. For now, I'm just going to put in the reinforced kit. In addition to this, there are a whole host of upgrades you can add to different machines. There's a couple that are generic ones, which is the main one we're going to be using here, which just increases processing speed, but also increases power usage. But there's a couple others that like increase the secondary outputs, which we're not using in this case, or removes the secondary outputs. And after that, there's specializations that you can add to machines, and you can only add 1 specialization to a machine. and they do some pretty interesting things. They can change what the machine does pretty radically. But for now, let's go add this to our mob crusher and go deal with one of our inventory problems, eh? And by inventory problem, I really do mean an inventory problem. This is getting increasingly worse, and this box is getting pretty close to being filled up. So let's hook this up. So as you can see, these are now getting chewed up by the pulverizer. These don't need to be repaired. They always come out as 1 or 2 diamonds depending on the piece that's being made. Over here in the configuration tab, you set these to the inputs and outputs you want on a given side. I have it set to everything on each side just because it doesn't matter. We're inserting and extracting with XNet anyways, but if you need more discrete control over which slots go out which pipes, this is how you control that. You can just click through them and toggle the different inputs. For upgrading the boxes, you can just right click onto it to upgrade them. And now we have up to the reinforced step, and this opens up 2 slots in the augment. For now, I'm only going to put 1 in because I probably don't even need this, but we might as well just because. And this adds more power but causes increased power drain, but does this now faster. But now this is at least quickly cleaning out this box, so now we're in a bit better shape, and now we will only have our trophy statues, which I don't really need. I'm just keeping them to see how many I get over time because why not? Oh, and I don't think I have the witch one outside, so I'm going to go grab that and put it out in my trophy area. Nope, totally already had the witch one. What I didn't have was the Enderman one, so there we go. Okay, so now that we've got that done, let's go on to my next goal. So what I had actually wanted to make was the magma crucibles, so I could replace my pump in the nether. That's not happening today. Instead, I think we're going to go up to the induction smelter, which will make making some of the metals we need a lot easier. So let's start with these other machines that I'm not going to use that often, but we'll start with the fractioning still. Also pretty simple to make, but it requires a little bit more obscure gears. So we need to make some constant gears, which thankfully I have a bunch of constant already made, and a nickel gear. All easy stuff to do. All right, and another step done. The fractioning still's finished. And this one can do some pretty interesting things. It's mostly for, in theory, refining fuel. So like oil into naphtha and resin into tree oil, etc., into different recipes. It, however, has 2 specializations. One, the reflux column, which increases the output of fuel, which is good. And the alchemical retort, which lets you make potions. So, yeah, both interesting in their own right. But it's just getting shoved in a box for now because I don't have an immediate use. It'll come out when I either make a dedicated space in the walls somewhere for these machines, or I actually need it. Next up is the compactor, which is Thermal Expansion's version of the metal press or the metal former. It makes plates and whatnot. And this one is actually really simple. It's just copper and bronze. And another one done. As it says, this is mostly for compacting things into plates and blocks, but you can do things like make coal chunks into diamond as well, and there's a few other random things that are useful in here. And this also lets you make like the A2 plates if you don't already have them from different pieces. Anyhow, another one that I don't immediately need, and I can actually do faster in the metal former if I just want to toss a couple more overclockers in it anyways. So, but it'll go in the box with the rest. Next up is the Sawmill, which gives about the same output as the block cutter, so again, another one I probably won't use. But also relatively simple to make, but requires the Mechanism Precision Sawmill for some reason. I don't actually know why. This doesn't seem like a win in anybody's book. And the Sawmill's done, so this one doesn't really do anything all that different from normal mills. As you can see, it's just all grinding things up into wood and or leather, things that were wood that have leather components. It does create sawdust, which has some uses, I guess. This lets you make things like paper and cardboard boxes, but we could already do this. Can also make phytogrowth thermal fertilizer, which is sort of useful if we were making that device, and a few other random things. That said, it does have a resin funnel specialization, which lets you dump out materials, or in the case of mineral, for integrated dynamics mineral resin, which is not terrible, honestly. But I don't have any use for this right now, so I might switch out the block cutter with it just for the byproducts later, but for now it's just going in the box. Alright, and now for the thing that I actually want, which is the Induction Smelter, which, thankfully, isn't really any harder to make than any of the rest of the stuff here, which just tells me we should have done this quite a long time ago, folks. This is on me. Alright, and the final step is done. The induction furnace is made, and if you go look into what it can do, that path leads to utter madness. Because if you look at its recipe list, it has 141 pages of recipes, but thankfully most of it all follows the same general pattern. One of them is general ore smelting, using sand to create an ingot and some slag. Another is just general alloying. So far, nothing unusual. Next one is mixing in cinnabar or rich slag to do ore multiplication, so 1 ore into 3 ingots. And the main reason I want it right now is the recipe for hardened glass, which can be a pain to track down because all of these other variants of it all get intermingled with it, and on any glass recipe you'll see for the most part. But this lets you make it without blazing pyrotheum, because otherwise this is what the recipe looks like. It uses more pulverized obsidian, but doesn't require pyrotheum dust at all. And there is one last hidden super important recipe in the long term, and that's the industrial machine chassis and the soul machine chassis for Ender IO. This isn't the one that opens up the gate, these are the advanced forms of it, but it requires the induction smelter to make. Actually, that's a lie. I forgot you can actually handcraft it, but it requires a lot more materials to make versus just tossing in the smelter with some dye. Instead of a bunch of dye in that and a bunch of reinforced obsidian. So don't neglect these recipes because these are kind of important too. Anyhow, we opened up a ton of quests though, so let's go grab all the loot chests and see how many we've got. Looks like there's 17 of them. Let's take a look at what we got. Anglicite? I don't know what this is, but it's extreme reactors and it's a legendary, so that seems important. Oh wow, it's used in only super endgame stuff. Okay then, and looks like it's massively hard to make. So I'm gonna call that a win. More food we haven't eaten. Food we have eaten, but it's the best one. Resonant filters, not gonna complain. More free power. Blocks. A flamethrower, well, okay then. Sturdy casings. Oh well, but maybe not very useful. Okay then. More blocks, an obsidian pressure plate, insanium essences. I'll take that for free, I guess. More food we haven't eaten. Mana dust, which we can make pretty easily now. Another fission controller, so I guess the game is telling me to go make a reactor already. And an engineer skyhook, which I've never actually used. So I think, given that I got a legendary drop, I pretty much won the lottery this time. So I don't know if that's going to be useful or not. I really should see what it's for, but not going to complain. And I got some more free power. Anyhow, we made a lot of progress through thermal expansion today. As always, folks, I'm Ard. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.